excited to be here. We're really excited for you tonight and the things that you might get out of this conversation. Here's the deal. We have about an hour together, a little bit less now. And if you will put yourself in the action tonight, you will get something really, really big out of this conversation. So let's start with some groundwork. First of all, what I want you to do is get you into action right now. Raise your hand if you're in a job that is not the job for the career that you want to have, that your job doesn't fit your imagined future in your career. Okay, great. Raise your hand if the job you have right now is a good job, but it doesn't pay enough money. You're not paid well enough. Money is one of the things you need more of in your future career. Raise your hand if that's the truth. Okay, great. Really, money is, we all need to make enough money, don't we? Raise your hand if you have an idea of something you'd like to have in your career, or some new job you would have, or maybe a business that you would like to launch. If you already know something, you have an imagination already. Okay, great. Now, this one's a little harder. It hits a little bit closer to home. But if you have an idea maybe that you want to make more money or have a new job, or there's some other career you'd like to invent, how many of you have known this for a while but don't know how to do anything about it? Great, lots of hands up there. So this is the experience that most of the people we work with have about their careers, is that either they're not in the right job, or they're not making the right money, or they have some idea of something they'd like to do in the world, but they don't know how to make the change. They don't know how to make a step forward into that new dream career. That's what we're going to work on tonight. But before we get further on what to do, I want my partner, Doug, to talk a little bit about his experience. Now, everybody should know that Doug has been an executive coach at the top levels of the world for 20 plus years. And even him in this amazing job, making really good money, it took him a long time to realize how to take the steps into inventing a new career for himself. Doug, can you take it away from here?
Absolutely. And hello, everyone. Wonderful to be with you today, whatever time zone you're in. By the way, as Edmundo said, I actually am traveling today. So I'm in an airport lounge at the moment. So if there's any background noise, I apologize. So a little bit about this, and kind of like, I guess, if you talk about the career of your dreams, and also being able to not only have a career that you love, but also to make money at it. So as Michael Sean said, I've been a consultant for a number of years, and I was with this one firm for a long time, and there was a degree to which I'd begun to be dissatisfied. It's like with the work I was doing with clients was wonderful, and I loved doing the client work. But the dealing with the other people in the organization, et cetera, it was a little, it was like I had been thinking about leaving for a while. And so one of the things to think about for yourself is if with what you're doing, how long have you been thinking about doing something else? For me, it was several years. And what happened was, what really shifted for me was, there's a spiritual teacher who there was actually in India, on a trip to India. We're inaugurating an ashram for the spiritual teacher. And it was the first ashram for a woman, built for a woman in the city of Varanasi, which is considered the holiest city in India. So the first ashram for a woman, right? And so pretty significant. And I had known a number of the ups and downs of getting there, of actually having it happen. And and being there, and I'd been there when it was still a under construction. But when I was there for the inauguration, it just really struck me that that teacher had held an intention for 15, 20 years or more and brought about something really significant, really wonderful, really new. And it struck me, it's like, wow, I could hold an intention for 10 to 15 years. That's something I could do. And even though I wasn't sure about what intention I wanted to hold, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do that with the firm I was in. Just the way the firm was oriented and the type of work it was doing, I knew I kind of had the, whatever the intention I wanted to create, that was really my passion, my purpose, my soul expression, I knew I wouldn't be able to do in the firm I was in. And at that moment, I just kind of decided, okay, I'm going to leave. Now, I had been thinking about leaving, as I said, for years. And part of what kept me in the job in that firm was the security of the paycheck, security of the money coming in. And I knew what I was taking on was going to be very, very risky. I didn't know not only did I know how I would do it, I wasn't even completely sure of what it was yet. But I knew that, and it was with that it was easy for me to make the decision. And it was, it was risky, in terms of finances. I really didn't know. And I gave my notice, and I knew that through the end of the year, I would be okay. But after that, it was like uncertain. And 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 by the way, since then, the year afterwards, just I made the least money that I'd made in about, I don't know, 20 years probably. But it was all okay. There was no sacrifice. I didn't have to get into my savings. It all worked out. But I was oriented around something differently. I was oriented around what is this contribution I want to make? What is it that's my sole expression this time and in the world? And it was actually during that period that Michael, Sean, and I were talking about different projects, and the whole notion of Boldly Now emerged in a way I never expected, and kind of leads us up to talking to you today, where it's really and Michael Sean may speak to this for himself, but really getting oriented around what's my expression. Now, for me, there was with Michael Sean and our partner Alex starting Boldly Now, but also I still continue to consult on my own, and that's opening up in a whole other way than I thought possible. I'm actually, in addition to Boldly Now, working with a very close friend who I've known for 30 years, working with her consulting firm. And again, there's the work that's happening now, but there's also a view towards what I actually have come to in terms of what I really want to do, that moment of choice, that moment of decision about doing something new. And so there have been doubts at times over the last several years. There have been times I've questioned myself, and I always come back to that sense, that almost like that vibration in my heart, that sense in my heart, like, yes, this is what I'm up to. Yes, this is what I'm going to do. That passion that has sustained me in the face of the doubts. So I wanted to just share my experience with that, because it really was significant in terms of me getting beyond my worry about leaving what I felt was secure into a world in which a career that I'm more excited about than ever. I'm really looking forward to the future. I am challenged more, probably. There's definitely challenges. I have more to do than I ever have, probably, and more thriving inside of that. So, Michael, Sean, any question you want to ask about that, or think would might be useful, other things that might be useful to speak to out of that?
No, I just one question. So that thriving feeling that you have right now, was there another avenue to that? Because you just maybe kept your job and maybe it would have crept in someday, some way?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, who knows? Because who knows what multiple avenues there are. However, I do know that in the job I was in, it was like I said, the client work was great. I love working with the clients, but everything else was kind of surviving, kind of that sense of like getting by, doing what I needed to do. There was a certain degree of there was a certain degree of a sense of obligation, as well as a certain degree of wanting to separate myself, like avoid the domination of the organization.
Right.
So kind of backing off in a way. And so that was a lot of the dynamic. And there's one or two people I really connected with, and everyone else was great people, not really connected. So, and that was part of the thing for me where I just didn't feel, not only didn't I see it happening, but I just didn't feel it happening in that firm.
Great. Now, I want everybody to thank you, Doug, for sharing that for everybody. I want everybody to think about themselves in this moment. Doug just described something I want you to really point out. Are you in your work and you're pulling back in some way? Maybe you're pulling back your heart or your spirit or your soul. Maybe it's your expression, your ability to speak. Maybe there's some fear or maybe there's some discomfort, but your experience of being at work is one of pulling back. Raise your hand if you feel a little bit of pulling back in your current work today. Okay, great. Great. So some people have that feeling. Now, maybe others don't. Maybe it's not that your job itself is limiting you, but it's just not the right space to be in. But let's get one thing clear. In order to have the job or career of your dreams, it cannot be the everyday plodding one day after another world. There has to be some magic to that, wouldn't you say? How many people in the room, raise your hand, how many people would like to have some magic in their career? Yeah, numbers going up. Okay, so magic is something we would all like to have. So magic, this kind of feeling of synchronicity or things clicking together, or like for Doug, he took a leap of faith. He tried something new. And it wasn't until he did that other things started happening, new connections, new possibilities. So sometimes the reason that we haven't got magic in our career and our dreams about our careers, we haven't taken that first step. So the first thing I want you everybody to take a note now and write down and ask yourself the question, not even knowing where I'm going, what is my intuition telling me my first step is? Now, it doesn't matter what the answer is. There's not a right answer or wrong answer to this, but what is my intuition telling me the first step is? Take a minute and write that down. Okay, raising your hand again. If what you just wrote down scares you, raise your hand. Okay, that's to be expected, right? Especially if it's something new, or maybe you don't know if you can count on it. It's going to have a little bit of, oh my goodness, this scares me. But I hope it's scaring you like on a roller coaster ride when you're getting ready to go up and go down. You're like, this is exciting. I'm excited about this feeling. Okay, now how many people, when they look at what they wrote down, raise your hand if you feel just there's a sense of excitement and a sense of, oh, this is really an important step. Yeah, great. I see some nodding of heads, more hands going up. Great. So the first thing that you're going to have to do to have a new career is be able to take a step. Now you've written down your intuition step, but we're going to get a little bit better than that. We don't want you to take a step that's a step in the wrong direction, right? Walking in the wrong direction doesn't get you to your dream career, dream job. So let's talk now. Now that we know that we need to take a step, let's talk about how you know what step is the right step. Now there's a little trick here that we're going to teach you. And it requires some amount of meditation or contemplation. We want you to be able to go into a quiet place, relax your body, and do a meditation that's like this. We want you to imagine a future. So you're going to close your eyes and you're going to travel into the future, and you're going to imagine what it might look like when you have your dream career, dream job. Okay, we're going to practice that. Everybody ready to practice it? So everybody close their eyes. Now you're going to take 3 breaths with me. Inhale and hold your breath for a second. Exhale and inhale and hold the breath for a second and exhale and inhale, holding and exhale. Now see in front of you a golden line stretching into the future, like a golden beam of energy. This is the timeline in your life to your future. And I want you to move forward in time now. Go forward 2, 3, 4 years and slow to a stop. And in this moment in time, 4 years into the future, you will have achieved your dream job, your dream career. You'll have all the money you need to have. You will have great people to work with and a very, very fulfilling job to do. Now, the first thing I want you to do is check into your body. How does it feel to have this amazing career? When you meet people in town, they say, "Oh, you're so lucky to have such a great job and a great career. How did you do it?" How does that feel in your body? Who are you now that you have this amazing job, this amazing career, the thing you always dreamed about? Now take a minute and try to see what you're doing. What is the work you're doing? Who are you doing it with? Are you in an office? Are you outside? Are you working at home? Where is the job taking place? And now I want you to imagine somebody coming to you to ask for you to do something to help them with something. And they're going to ask you to do something that is so easy and natural for you to do. They're going to ask you to give a gift that is the easiest and most fulfilling gift you can give. What gift do you give them? What is the thing that you do for them? How does it feel to give this gift and do this work? Okay, take a deep breath with me and hold. Hold your breath. Let this permeate your cells and exhale. If you can see the future, you can create the future for yourself. And now we're going to come back down that golden thread to this moment. And as we come back down that thread, you're going to see at certain points glowing globes of energy along that timeline. So you're going back, you're back to 3 years and 2 years. We're looking for those glowing points. Back to 18 months, 12 months, 10 months, 6 months, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're back to now. Those glowing points were the moments you had to make a choice and take an action that you had never taken before. We call these nexus points. It's important that we do this meditation and go forward in time to see our future. And then we have to come back and see these moments when we made an extraordinary action or took an extraordinary decision. The future is connected to you through these moments that you chose something. Okay, I want you to open your eyes. If you saw anything or learned something from that meditation, take a moment and write some notes to yourself so you don't lose it. You have an amazing power of intuition and the capacity to see things that others cannot see for your life. Take any notes that you might have about this future 4 years from now. You don't have to get everything down right. Just get things to remind you. Okay, so we've now have 2 points of reference in our creating our dream future, our dream career and job. One is that we have to take a first step, right? So Doug took a first step. He quit his other job for something new to happen. And taking that first step opens up this possibility for magic. The second is we need to know where we're going. What does the future look like? And you can meditate on this anytime you want to. Maybe you didn't get a full picture this time. We did it pretty quickly. You can spend time exploring your future. I've just taught you how to be a time traveler. It's completely your capacity to travel to the future anytime you want to. You can do it about your career, about relationships. Anytime you need to see when you figured something out, you can travel to that point in time. So the second thing is we need a future. 1, we have to take a step. 2, we need a future. The third thing is knowing what that step is. You don't have to take the step in this moment, but you have to come to some idea about what is the first step. Now, it's probably not tomorrow you're going to quit your job, but it might be that you need some more information about a certain business or sector that you would like to be involved in. Or maybe you've got you've started a business, but it needs to grow and you need to get some consulting or some help on how to grow your business. Maybe you have a real world business, you want to make it a digital business. Your first step may be learning. You may need to make learning your first step. And then the next step after that, you'll do the same after. What is the next step that you can take? Now, the third big point I want you guys to really, really get now is this destination we're talking about. In order for it to be really your dream job or your dream career or your dream business or your dream nonprofit, whatever that is it has to be aligned with your purpose on the earth. So Doug said that he needed to do something to have his work be aligned with his soul. Now, when you're born, there's just not one thing that you're meant to do in this life. There's not just one job you're meant to do. And you know that's true because sometimes you do things for money that you work and sometimes you do for passion, but you also have other jobs. Maybe you're a husband or a wife. Maybe you're a father or a mother or a grandmother. Maybe you're a sister. Maybe your job is to comfort a friend who's having a difficult time. And many of these jobs are really very aligned with our soul's purpose. And you know when that happens because it feels good. It feels good in the moment. It feels good in your body. Now, it might be hard. Those of us who have had kids know that being a parent is not easy. But there's something about it that feels good in the body. We know that this is part of our soul's purpose. For your career to have that quality, you have to get clear now about what your purpose is. Why am I here? And not I'm here to fix cars. If your purpose is around cars and having them run, your purpose may be to give people comfort and ease, knowing they can get from place to place. My job is to give them safety, comfort, and ease. That's my purpose. Or to give them confidence. Your purpose is something that's poetic, beautiful, and has this quality of ringing you like a bell. You know, when you strike a bell, it vibrates and rings for a long time. And then that sound kind of tapers off. But somehow if you keep listening for the sound, you can hear it for a long time. And this is the quality of your purpose. Doug, do you want to say something?
Yes. No, I love what you're saying. Because I know for me, even when I recall that moment of decision and just now, there is a different experience in my body. There's sort of a centeredness, an anchored quality. The other thing that I want to add, though, is what can also be there, because I think that is important, exactly what you're saying, Michael Sean. What can sometimes immediately follow that is the freak out. The anxiety, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Now, in my case, that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was there in moments. Probably more than I initially may think about. But I just want to allow for, because I think at times in the past, before I made that decision, before I really had more of, I'm looking to see what the difference is, because there were times I had a sense of the purpose, but it seemed elusive. It seemed at a distance. It seems like I couldn't get my hand on it. And there was something that clicked for me. And I think the thing that clicked was like, oh, I really could do this. And I think with that, the fear that I had before that diminished enough, wasn't completely gone, but it diminished enough that I was able to actually take an action consistent with my purpose in a way that I had not before. Even when the purpose wasn't even fully clear, I just had a sense of it.
Yeah.
And I think that fear that we often have of doing something new often gets in the way of hearing our purpose. And I think the way you talked about it, Michael Sean, was like the bell ringing. It's the allowing ourselves to set aside the fear and really listen to what is there in our heart. What is it we're passionate about? What is it when we think about that we're uplifted? So I think that's an important part. There can be both in considering our purpose. One is that bell ringing, that heart vibration. And then there's also can be the fear of like, oh my God, if I do this, what am I going to have to do? So I think that's often there to contend with, and I know was for me.
Yeah, that sometimes we refer to that as your calling, right? And sometimes you're called and you're like, I'm not sure I want to. That seems like a big thing to do, or that seems too big for me in some way. And that's okay. If your purpose feels like a calling that's too big for you, then I recommend that you do a meditation where you imagine a time where it's no longer too big for you. And imagine how you are when it's no longer too big for you. We don't have to get this dream career done in a day, in a week, in a year. It may take you 5 years, it may take you 10. It doesn't matter. As long as you're on the journey towards that, you can feel the fulfillment of it along the way, as long as you're making those steps. Okay, so we've gone through three major things.
Let me just underline that one thing you just said, because for me, it's been about a little over 3 years on this journey now. And while I wouldn't say I've made it, there's more to go. And, and then once there's more to go, there will likely be more to go from that. And it's exactly like Michael Sean said, that sense of fulfillment is there because I'm working inside of something created rather than I'm working inside of something someone else created, working inside of like a paycheck. It's more inside of something that's the fulfillment of my purpose rather than merely doing a job.
Yeah, great. Did everybody hear that? That working towards your purpose is a different thing than just doing a job. Now, people who are working in their purpose and doing a job may look just like everybody else doing a job, but I promise their experience is entirely different. They feel entirely different when it's their dream job. If you have somebody else's dream job, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's their dream job, not yours. It's their dream career, not yours. It's their business that they launch that they care about so much. Okay, so I'm going to review the things that that we've talked about. In order to have this future happen, you have to be able to take a step. Where do you take a step towards? You need to be able to imagine a future that's complete, that's vivid, that's real for you. So you know what steps to take. The next thing is that you need to have that future, that job, be in alignment with your soul's purpose, with the reason that you're here. And then I'm going to give you the fourth thing in this, and then we'll take some questions and talk about how you can study this. The fourth thing in this is that in order to make the journey, you have to know what your gifts are. What are your gifts? Maybe your gift is writing, or maybe your gift is accounting, or maybe your gift is to speak in front of people or to coach. And maybe you have many different gifts like this. Maybe you have, maybe people trust you automatically and they want to share with you. Or maybe you're good with people in difficult times and difficult circumstances. Or maybe when somebody needs an idea of what to do next, you've always got an idea. Or maybe you're the first person to, pick up the shovel and dig the foundation of a new building because you just love to get to work and move the earth. We all have gifts that are an expression of our purpose that sometimes we don't think much about. You might do something normally and naturally that for you is just like, well, that's just something I do. But everybody else looks at you and go, oh, wow, they're so amazing at that. Our gifts are what are going to give us the steps and that we know what to do towards that future career. And then when we're in that future, we're imagining that future. Remember, I had you imagine somebody ask you for something and you gave them a gift or you did something for them. So when we go to the future, we need to know what our gifts are and we need to see them being used. You see, we'll never be completely happy and completely satisfied. Ooh, we have a white screen. We'll never be happy and satisfied if we don't get to give our gifts in this life. Not giving your gifts is like being invisible in the world. So the four things are knowing you have to take a first step, having a future that you've imagined that you know is where you want to go. What does my dream job, my dream career look like? 3, that needs to be aligned with your purpose. Why are you here? And 4, in order to get there, and when you get there, you will be giving your gifts. So you need to understand your gifts. I'm going to let people ask some questions, but all of this material is on the Boldly You app. We have given you 3 courses. The first course is called Burning Desire. The second course is called Big Idea. And the third course is called Bold Action. If you will get started on the first 1 and 2 of these courses will lead you through exercises to discover your gifts, to discover your purpose, and then discover a future you would like to create. So these are videos and exercises you can do one after the other. You guys all have access to this if you go to the Boldly You app. Somebody can put that link up in the window, that'd be great. It's es.app.bold.ly. You're all signed up. All those courses are there, and you can get started on learning these things about yourself so that you can do this, you can make this journey, you can take this journey into the future. Doug and I are here as your biggest fans, your biggest supporters in you going along this journey. We strongly, strongly feel that you can reach this point where you have your dream job and your dream work. I I'm gonna ask you if anybody has any questions. Before I do that, if you raised your hand using the button in Zoom, please put your hand down for a minute. So I should see 0 hands here in a second. It's 14, 13, going down. Okay, dropping again.
I also think that Chris or the host can lower people's hands as well.
Lowers people's hands. Okay, great. Okay, so what we want to do is if you have a question for Doug or I, and you have your hands raised as a hand raise, we'll go ahead and have whoever's on the back end of this choose somebody and unmute their microphone and have them ask their question.
Verónica Meléndez, go ahead. Open your mic. Yes. Hi. Good afternoon. I am from Argentina in this afternoon. My question is, did a person, does a person needs to confront a difficult situation in order to discover the gifts that they possess? Do they have to go through a difficult situation?
Great question. There's a number of techniques you can use to discover your gifts. Yes, it's possible that when something challenging happens, you discover a gift you didn't know you had. That's very possible. That is not the most easiest way or most normal way to discover your gifts. The easiest and first step is to set aside some quiet time, a piece of paper, and maybe colored pens or pencils, and just ask yourself the question, what are my gifts? What do I do really, really well? And just start writing. And write and create a list. That's your first action to do. The second action to do is you want to go ask your parents or somebody that knew you when you were little, maybe an auntie or a grandmother or a sister or brother. Ask them, when I was little, what were the things that I did that I was just really good at, just automatically? What are the things that were just normal for me as a kid? Have them tell you and just write those things down. After they tell you, ask them, are there things on this list that I'm still really good at? Are things that you might consider to be my gifts? And then write those down. You can repeat this with people you work with, maybe a mentor or a boss that you really respect. You can have them. Would you please help me? I'm doing some homework for a course I'm in. Would you tell me what are my gifts? And you'll start to see some real themes. You'll start to see some things repeat over and over. Now, one thing to look for. If the list that you wrote down, if there's something on that list that doesn't show up on the other list, it may be a gift that you have that you're not giving, that you're not yet giving. And so that might be one to take action on. And you might find some of these gifts to be rather plain, and you might find other ones have this energy to them, this electricity to them. And those are the ones you really want to pay attention to.
And one other thing also is when considering our gifts, one of the things I've seen for myself and many others is we sometimes fall into what I call a false humility. Like, oh, I'm not really that good, or oh, so this is not bragging, but also it's really just telling the truth, because each of us has certain gifts. And one of the ways, and this fits with what Michael Strong was saying earlier, one of the ways we can tell is often when we're most fulfilled, when we're most alive, when we're most enjoying what we're doing, many of those times is when we're giving our gifts. And there's something really unique, special, and important about each of us. So sometimes that false humility, as I said, can get in the way of discovering our gifts.
Did we answer your question?
Sí, sí, gracias.
I just want to say personally, I hope that you find your gifts effortlessly without any troubles at all.
Muy bien, Alejandro Vallarta, prende tu
Okay,
micrófono.
Alejandro Vallarta, turn on your microphone now. I want to say hi, doctor, and to the people that are helping us in this class. I just wanna give a suggestion. They have a lot of experience. What happens, or how can we do it for people like us that are surrounded for toxic people here in Mexico? I know that I have to be centered in the future, in a dream, in a possibility. But however, maybe sometimes our own family wants to push us down. They put us in a corner, and like it or not, it does kind of interferes in our ability to reach what we want to do. I don't know if you can give me any advice on regards to that when you are surrounded by toxic people.
Well,
Yes.
one thing I would say, first off, I appreciate that. Michael Sean will definitely have some other things to say, is that ability to maintain your center, I'll say. And because it's easy, and I know, and I understand this because I've experienced this, it's easy to be thrown off by other people. One of the very simple things that can make a difference with that is taking regular pauses. Can be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, where you just sit in stillness and breathe consciously. That provides a lot in terms of being able to be oriented around what's important to you, what's meaningful to you, rather than be thrown by everyone else. And so, well, that I wouldn't say that's the whole story, and Michael Sean will give you more of the story. I think that's one very simple thing that can make a difference with that.
Yeah, great, Doug. And I'll just add on to that when you sit and breathe to get your center again, touch in with your purpose, touch in with your future. This is not an exercise that you're going to do once and then have a dream career, a dream job, a new business in your life. You're going to have to be able to bring that vision up. The reason we do the meditations is in a moment like that, when you're being pushed down a little bit, you say, hey, I need to take a break. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get some fresh air, whatever you say. And then you just imagine, okay, what is my future? What is my purpose that's being expressed? And you bring them to mind and you breathe deeply, like we did in the meditation. You breathe it into your body and get centered on that. I want to tackle the other side of this. There's two pieces. The other side of this being the experience of being repressed, or the experience of being pushed down, or there's toxic people in my world. To one extent or another, every human being experiences this. Now, there are experiences on the extremes, people who really, really, really have a lot to deal with in life that is very heavy. And there's people at the other extremes that don't have so much things to deal with that are not so heavy. And we'll say that for most of us, I think we live somewhere in the middle. It's either pretty good or sometimes not so good. And there's two things that are really important. One, where we just stood, is that should never be a limit to what size of future you imagine. It should never be a limit on the imagination, the dream, the desire, because that is your rocket fuel. If you build a rocket and don't put any fuel in it, then you just have a rocket that's a pretty paperweight. It doesn't do anything. The passion for the purpose, the passion for the future, that is your rocket fuel. So if you're feeling in your environment, there's toxic energies or there's people repressing you, the first thing you have to do is go get in touch with your passion, the passion for the future. I want this. This is something for me. There is nothing that will get in my way. Now that creates for you a reservoir of energy to deal with the things you have to deal with. So that's the first thing. Connect to your passion. Second thing is in those environments where people are saying or doing toxic things, this is something you're going to have to work on. You're going to have to negotiate in your life with how much access you give those people, how much time you spend with them. And if or if not, you can educate them how to treat you and be with you. Now, I know this can be really, really difficult. You have people who have patterns of things that they do over and over, but you have a gift in that you're being asked to be conscious of life, and you're being given ways to see life in positive and growth and development and consciousness ways. So maybe part of your purpose is to be in these toxic environments and be willing to educate people, maybe sharing an idea or a thought or a principle, letting them know that their life doesn't have to be about suffering. And also letting them know what is okay for you and what is not okay for you in being with you. And if they can't be okay, then you might need to step aside. Now, Mexico aside, yes, if this is occurring at your work, or if this is occurring with your family, this is some of life's biggest challenges. But accepting that as the way it is just leaves you smaller. Your ambition has to be to have it be something other than the way it is. And it may take a lot of energy and a lot of work, and you may increase its good by 10% in 1 year. But in 10 years, you might be able to completely transform it. Your family, the city you're in, maybe some of the things that are going on. We can create a world that works for us while we're creating our own life. And this is really the highest level of work that you can do, that you can up-level your life. You can have a dream job, a dream career, make the money you need to make, have a positive relationship with your wife or best friend, or these things. But if that can spread out from you and impact others in your city, in your church, in your business, in the marketplace, this is when we together are making a difference in the world. So maybe your birth, maybe the challenges that you face are the opportunity for you to do work that is more meaningful than somebody that does not have those things in their world. To uplift and upgrade these systems and these communities that are dysfunctional is what the universe and God, and it's begging you to take those steps. And I want to say one thing. Success in doing that work does not look like tomorrow they stop doing the things they're doing. It looks like you showing up and doing that work over and over again. Because you can never really know what your impact is on a community, because it doesn't always show up. But you may be creating the seeds for future growth and future change and future transformation. So that, by the way, guys, was an amazing question, because we all are going to face resistance to inventing these futures and realizing them. And that resistance may be the one thing that makes a difference in our lives and other people's lives, if we are actually able to step into that and transform that difficult thing. So thank you for the question. And I think, Edmundo, we're getting close to the hour, so I'm going to hand it back to you. Do you have any questions or thoughts for us, or things you might want to offer the audience?
I saw a question that is for a lot of people, and it's very short. Can you answer it for us, please? How can I know that what I'm thinking as a future is not an illusion, or it's an illusion? How can I know what I'm thinking is not an illusion?
What wonderful question. Both Doug and I are gritting right now. Okay, the future is always an illusion, first of all. The future is never something that's real. It's your imagination. You should make it the best illusion ever made. You should make it the best dream ever made. That future is meant to be a dream that inspires you. What does it inspire you to do? It inspires you to take a step right now. So how do you know it's not an illusion, like it's not something that will happen? Because if you come back to this moment and that future that you invented doesn't call you to do something, doesn't say to you, hey, Michael Sean, if you really want me, you have to go and do. If it doesn't call you like that, and then you don't find yourself taking steps towards it, then you need to go imagine a better illusion. You need to go get a better, more amazing future for yourself so that you feel the pull of that future. The future doesn't exist, except it exists right now as an imagined future. We call this the ever-present future. It's here with us now. That imaginary thing is with us now, and it tells us right now what we need to do. Now, in your journey to go to that future, you may change the destination multiple times. You may imagine a future that's like this, and then a couple of years later say, oh no, this would be better. This is more where I'm going. And in life, we will always have a future. Until we are no more, we will always have a future. And if that future is one that is magical and marvelous, it will always ask us to take magical and marvelous steps. And a life in which every day you take magical and marvelous steps is a beautiful, fulfilled life. You create for yourself a fulfilling now by having a big enough future for yourself to walk towards. Wonderful question, Edmundo. Thank you so much. That really gets at, for us, some of the heart of this teaching about imagining futures is that we need to understand that the future orients us. It, like a compass, it tells us where to face and what steps to take. And that's why it's powerful. That's why the future is something that changes our life and changes the lives around us. And you can think of some big futures that were created. Gandhi said that they were going to free India non-violently. That wasn't going to happen. That wasn't possible. But he said that was going to happen. And he dreamed this big dream, and then India became free. Robert Kennedy in the United States imagined putting a man on the moon when there was no technologically possible way to do that. That was a future that was impossible. But it set up in action a series of steps that made it possible. So the future you're imagining may not be possible today, but if you keep taking steps towards that future, it will become more and more and more possible, and more and more and more likely. My hope and my dream is that you imagine amazing futures, and that puts you into a life of adventure and exploring and passion.
Pues bien, muchísimas gracias, Doc.
Well, thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, Michael. So, friends, we'll see you in a different moment. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Michael, Sean. Thank you so much, Hilda, for doing the interpretation. Honestly, she helps, her job helps us a lot. It's always excellent. Thank you, Kristen, for all the logistic and answering questions. This has been an honor for us to be with all of you. Thank you.